Welcome to Cycle 2. Let me give you a quick briefing and then we'll step off. This is a port that we think is being used to transfer weapons and equipment to the CEC rebels. There's an FSG base just to the southwest, which overlooks the docks and is probably supervising their activities. Our job is to go in, steal anything that looks important, and blow up the rest. Alright, in reverse order, here's the plan. ISR shows warehouses here in the center of the dockyard. Those are by far the best buildings they have to store equipment, so we'll assume that's our primary. But we gotta get there somehow. This is a 3-story office building. If we take that first, it'll be a great SBF for the compound, and it'll let us intercept enemy QRFs with our Gustav. Great. But how do we actually get to the compound in the first place? It's too bright for a dive, the FSG have man pads, so helos are out. What do we got? And the plan we came up with for that is basically the strategic equivalent of, let's hit it with a brick. We are Marines, after all. Amphibious landings are sort of our thing. We get effective suppression into the docks during our approach, and we're able to make landfall in one piece. We pop smoke to buy us some time while we breach the outer fence, and then we're able to move up and make entry into the office building. Unfortunately, the front of the building is all made of glass, which leaves us quite exposed while trying to get upstairs. We split into 2 teams, with one keeping suppressive fire out the front to keep the enemies pinned down, while the other sprints up the stairs to clear the building as fast as we can. Okay, step 1 complete. Now we can set up the SBF, and I'll go bolster the assault.
Okay.
What was that?
Let's get someone.
I'll go join the assault. Oh, never mind. I'm gonna be busy. With some difficulty, we managed to fend off the several squads of reinforcements pushing towards our position. Our assaulters start pushing counterclockwise through the compound, but they take a casualty in the first section of buildings. During all of our fighting on the roof, there's finally enough of a lull that I think I can get away with shifting some people to help the assaulters. There isn't really a good way to do this, but on the roof I end up leaving McManus with the DMR, Shepard who has the drone, and Gwynne. You know Gwynne. Meanwhile, me and the corpsman go link up with Legion 1, who's at the tail end of stabilizing the casualty. This will give me a great chance to get the drone in the air for the JTAC. But right as Falconer wakes up, I hear a voice. And not just any voice. That was the voice of our Zeus operator, which means that there is someone very close to us who's gone unnoticed, who very much wants to kill us. I move up to sweep the tower, which is my first guess. Nothing. Well, maybe oh wait, there he is. Now that Falconer is conscious again, he pushes into the next warehouse and gets into a gunfight with a dude who performs a textbook
Ninja vanish. Ah, my eyes.
But his success is short-lived, as our Overwatch makes quick work of him. By this time, I finished getting the drone into position, and Legion 1 is finished clearing the western dockyard. Well, no gunfight for me. Ooh, is that a hand? He runs into the warehouse that Legion 1 clears a few moments later, while I'm busy being confused about where the hand guy went. Meanwhile, our Overwatch has made mincemeat of the enemy reinforcements, and has found some FSG guys who are abusing our must-be-engaged-by-them-first ROE. But when our Overwatch starts taking marksman fire, the idiot with the binoculars finds out we're not fond of his friend shooting at us. We find our primary objective, but since the enemy's QRF has been wildly ineffective, we decide to just take our time and clear the rest of the compound just to be sure.
That's all you guys.
So we, bruh, what? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. Moving on.
I got stuck.
We finish sweeping the compound without issue and make our way back to the Overwatch to confirm destruction of the primary objective. Now it's time to make our exit, but the Overwatch is still having difficulty with the enemy marksmen, keeping them on the roof. McManus covers the rest of them with the DMR as they move to the ladder and climb off the roof. But now he's alone and somehow needs to keep the sniper suppressed and climb down the exposed ladder. Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, we are.
He gets clear of the roof, hops in our rib, and we're RTB. And that's just the first half of the mission. The oil rig is up next. Also, if you're enjoying the video so far, consider leaving a like. I really appreciated all of the feedback you guys left on the last video. So if you have any for this one, please leave it in the comments. We found some intel on the docks, which points to the FSG having moved additional weapons to an offshore oil rig. After a quick tactical debate, we ultimately decide that a helocast dive is our best option, even with how bright it is. I admittedly put the DZ a fair bit too close given the current lighting conditions, but according to plan, the helicopter takes some fire on its way out and does some other false inserts, which pulls the enemy's attention away from where we were dropped in. That buys us enough time to get to the rig, while the enemy thinks they scared us off. We hit the stairs, neutralize a guard, and work our way farther up, where we change out of our wetsuits and prepare to assault the main floor. But while we're waiting, McManus is forced to drop somebody who comes to investigate, which means we're live. We follow his shots through to the main floor and find ourselves under strength on the landing platform of the oil rig with way too many sectors to cover. We engage who we can, but then pull back and hold what ground we've made until everybody else can link up. I grab Falconer just to help me clear these stairs, but because the oil rig is a maze, he ends up with me for the rest rest of the op. We sweep up the stairs while Falconer covers my back. I drop 2 other contacts at distance, and we have the initial landing clear. We keep sweeping up to the next level and take some fire from a marksman deeper inside the rig. I clear a contact on the right while Falconer drops the marksman. And I'm now just starting to realize how complicated this clearance is about to be, since basically everything connects to everything else and it all has to be cleared and covered effectively. We managed to find a doorway which leads further down into the maze. Falconer takes the right and clears out the floor while I push up the stairs and find out I have 1 round left in my gun. The value of having a mod that lets you swap to your sidearm quickly. I keep hearing shots from my front, but the only person I can see is this dude's arm. I decide not to telegraph where I am by shooting at his hand, this time. And I figure I'll ambush him if he decides to push, or take him at the point that we decide to move up. I end up dropping to a low ready because my magnifier is blocking my view to the right, and I'm worried I'm about to get flanked from that warehouse. Predictably, the moment I take my eyes off that angle...
Oh, with you.
We keep hearing those sporadic shots somewhere to the northeast, but neither of us can see the guy, and I keep getting spooked by hearing Chinese voices behind me, even though they're probably on the floor below. I drop this guy, but his right arm moves as if he just threw a frag. I call that out, make space, and hit the dirt. I start taking fire and realize I'm out of ammo, and then this guy comes around the corner. Pause. Falconer's back is turned. There is no chance of him reacting to that threat before this guy kills us both. And you remember that mod I mentioned that lets you fast swap to your secondary? It's bugged, and if you do that while prone, the ground eats your rifle. But this guy needs to die. So, muscle memory kicks in. I get my sidearm in the fight and take the first round of my plate. He's dead, but my gun is gone. And then I turn around to find Falconer also on his secondary. Fortunately, there are 2 people I know in the entire unit who regularly train CQB with only sidearms. And those 2 people are me and Falconer.
Excuse me?
Reaction time, Falconer. Top deck. 1 down.
Pushing high.
Copy, coming to you. Pushing up, pushing up. Alright, we've got the building secured now, and I have time to deal with the small matter of the ground eating my gun. I briefly debate taking one of the enemies, but I decide to give God a call instead, and because it's a known bug, he's nice to me, and I once again have a useful primary. Man, that was an adventure. Falconer and I make a choice that we regret, and we opt to send everybody else a different way. We shift over to help them clear, and once again, people popping up out of nowhere results in my PID skills taking center stage. I passed, this time. Oh, sorry. After some minor sketch on the stairs, we're finally able to make it back to the bottom level of the maze. At this point, it's basically impossible to know what has already been cleared, so we just follow the flow and hope the other team's doing the same. I know these doors open out and I still did that. And this is why dynamic entries are cool. Immediate right's clear. Now from the receiving end. Yeah. No, thank you. Meanwhile, aviation has been tasked with deleting this annoyance, which I have to say is pretty cool to watch. We finally reach the opposite end of the rig, where we push up to the 2nd floor of this barracks so we can clear it top down. The top floor is swept without incident, but as we get to the ground floor, we get a prime example of why trust in CQB is so important, and why even minor amounts of desync are really annoying. Contact down left?
I took a scratch, but I'm good for now.
Hello. I really shouldn't have survived that. We're deep enough into this process now that I am totally turned around and I have no idea what's been cleared or where we came from. After a short detour back clearing this building, I find where we came up from, which finally gets me reoriented. We link back up with one and very tentatively call the location clear. We're told the Philippine Marines are going to take custody of the rig, which means our job here is done. We call in our extract and we're mission complete. And this was only cycle 2. The deployment's not over yet, so if you enjoyed watching, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. The first op of the deployment is on your left, so watch that if you haven't already, and the next one will be on your right as soon as it's released. If you'd like to join the fun, consider submitting an application on our website. And finally, I hope you make the rest of your day a good one, and thank you so much for watching.
Falconer.